This indicator is the most accurate indicator I've seen in my entire life when it comes to predicting Bitcoin's price, because we used this indicator and we did the math and we did the equations, and it predicted the 2021 bull market by $1,000. And now we're using this indicator today to determine where is Bitcoin going to head in 2024 and 2025. And historical study predicting 164K, but there is a catch on this one. And then I'm going to give you my short-term price prediction for Bitcoin as well. And we're jumping in a trade, actually. So this is an interesting forecast on Bitcoin based on a detailed examination of the price trajectory over the past bull cycles. If you don't know what a Bitcoin bull cycle is, Bitcoin has 4-year cycles. And the reason we have a 4-year cycle is the Bitcoin halving event occurs every 4 years when the reward for mining Bitcoin is cut in half. And then during this 4-year cycle, you typically see a boom about 12 months before the halving event, and then it continues until 12 months, sometimes 18 months after the fact. And I think we're going to basically follow this pattern because Bitcoin has continuously followed this 4-year pattern. And so we're using this 4-year pattern to look at the peak periods of Bitcoin. Now, 2011, a little bit of a outlier there because it was so new, but 2013 and 2017, and then they do the math for 2021, and we're going to continue this 4-year cycle to 2025, and wait till you see this Bitcoin price target. It is insane. Now, in this analysis, they notice there are decaying peaks when it comes to Bitcoin's returns because they progressively get lower each successive bull run. And so now they're aiming to delineate the pattern that could suggest the future price movements. Now, we're not going to get into the math. Shout out to Ben Cowan. Maybe we'll look at it a little bit. But in this study, we're looking at the same numbers, and they applied the model to the 2021 bull market. And then in the cycle peak, they predicted it was going to hit $65,000. Now, they're using weekly candles. That was within $1,000 of the Bitcoin top there. Again, we're looking at weekly closes. And so very, very accurate. And so when they ran the numbers, it basically perfectly predicted. Now, we're going to zoom in on this a little bit here. This is the chart that they're pointing out. And I want to give a big shout out to the analyst that discovered this, Sminston With. And he has a PhD in engineering. So we're not talking about some slouch. We're talking about a smart analytical mind here. And he studied the decaying peaks of the Bitcoin price residuals from each cycle. And they did an exponential decay fit, meaning, it was shrinking each subsequent cycle. Now, the results are striking. It predicted 65K when the peak was 64, only a difference of $1,000. And so they used that to predict the 2021. We just looked at that. Now, this is the math. If you really wanted to get into it, all you nerds out there, hit the like button if you like the math here. But let's zoom in and see where are we going in 2024. So someone asked him, Macro Not BTC, he actually has a dad joke for you. Where does the Fed store their US dollars? In the basement. All right, Macro Not, that was actually kind of a good one. What is the 2024-2025 price prediction? And so we're clicking on it right here. Now, this is where we're expecting to come out in this cycle. But what part of 2024-2025 is Bitcoin going to hit its cycle top? Well, to do that, let's look at the previous cycles. These are the Bitcoin halvings, and then the yellow line marks when the rewards are cut in half, and then you can see the rest of the cycle. You'll notice something pretty interesting with the Bitcoin cycles. They kind of top out at a very, very similar rate there, 532 days. And we look at this cycle right here, we're going to get something very, very similar there, 553 days. So, you can notice that there's a lot of correlation on when this is going to tap out. So let's, I think I'm forward here a week. So we'll do about 520. And if you look down there on the bottom, it comes up to the end of September. And so let me just spell some out. 2017, December was the top. 2021, November was the top. And I think 2025, October being the top is just too easily to predict. And so I think traders will front run the October top, and then Bitcoin will actually top out in September of 2025. And so let's go back to this chart and then kind of determine where September 2025 is. September is going to be the end of Q3, and you can see, Q3, Q4 starts here right at this line. And look at that number for Bitcoin's price. Now, if we follow this band, The bear case for Bitcoin this cycle is $193,000. The bull case, $278,000. Where do I think it's going to go? I think it might hit the low twos, but I wouldn't be surprised if we can't quite get above 200K there. Now, I do feel, maybe 160, 140 could potentially be the top, but I love this prediction of 193. But I also said I will tell you where Bitcoin's going in the short term. And when we pull up the 4-hour chart here, you can see this symmetrical triangle that is forming, and then this is essentially telling us Bitcoin must choose a direction. The longer it goes and the closer it gets to the tip of this, the stronger the move is going to be to the upside or to the downside. Think of a coiled spring. If you press it down a little bit and it pops out, it goes a little bit. If you get it all the way down and then it pops out, boing, that thing is going to hit somebody in the eye and you might take an eye out there. We don't want to do that. And so you see we're testing the bottom right now. And so we have actually opened a trade. I was going to open a short if we hit the top, and I was going to open a long if we hit the bottom. And you can see right here, we just literally opened this trade. This is the 4-hour candles that we're looking at here. Let's click on the 5-minute, and you can see Bitcoin just got massively oversold in a short amount of time, hitting that range that we were looking at. And right now we're briefly in profit. We're in profit, pennies right now. So it's a very, very small trade, mostly just to test my theory. DZ puts his money where his mouth is. So hit that like button if you like me going into these trades and actually putting some conviction in my price prediction. That rhyme? So not only am I bullish in the short term, DZ is bullish in the long term as well. That is why we're opening this trade. But back to the 4-year cycle here. I just want to give a parting warning here. Don't get impatient in the market right now. You can see previous cycles, we did have to wait a ways, before we got positive price action. If we just go here, let's actually go on the daily so we can get a little bit more of an accurate reading. It took a while for Bitcoin to finally wake up and, from its slumber, and then it finally started to get bullish. You could say it started to get bullish 200 days later, or you could be, maybe a little conservative, 160 days later or so. That's when Bitcoin started to appreciate in price. And we saw something similar to the cycle before that. In fact, after the halving, it was kind of bearish at the moments there, and it took a significant amount of time for that to have a nice run there, 109 days. Some might even say it took about 160 days. So if we were to measure 160 days from the halving, you can see we're getting very, very close to the exciting times in Bitcoin. So now's not the time to get shaken out of the markets. We might trade sideways for a while, but I think there is going to be a big move. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a sharp move to the downside before we just melt faces and then have these giant runs. Because remember, $193,000 is the bear case, $278,000 is the bull case, and then this indicator is basically one of the most accurate indicators I've ever seen in my life. The 164K, that's by the end of this year. That means if we top out soon in a matter of months, we still have a very bullish price target for Bitcoin there. So do not sleep on this historical indicator. It's been very, very accurate in the past. I think it's going to be very accurate this cycle as well. Hit that like button on the way out, and I'll see you in your diamond hand of Bitcoin at the top.